As we look at milk, it's kind of like this gift from nature. From the Maasai to the Moguls to the Vikings to American pioneers, they kind of all shared this secret, which is their consumption of milk. And every mammal, from goats to sheep to human, produce one type of milk. Cows also used to produce one type of milk until a genetic mutation occurred.
A lot of people are going to be shocked by that. So there's these two subtypes of dairy out there.
The 70% of the world's population that are told they're lactose intolerant might not actually be lactose intolerant, but rather intolerant to the A1 beta-casein protein that's in the most dominant milk on grocery shelves today.
Where does one get A2 today?
The most common cow that has A2 is the Jersey cow.
Love the protein shakes, the milkshakes. Can you talk about them? Like what they are for people that aren't watching this on video?
So what we do is we get raw milk and we...
Welcome to the pod, man.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
This is your first podcast.
First one.
This is a big deal. I appreciate it. We're making history right now.
Well, seeing what you've done with your platform and kind of where the world is right now, couldn't imagine a better first podcast.
Thanks, buddy. We need to give people the backstory because I didn't know you so well, but I knew of you. We had mutual friends. We went to different schools. We're from the same small hometown where we're recording this right now. And all these years later, 20 something years later, right? I mean, it has to be, right? I get an email from a mutual friend in the wellness space, John Durant, and he's like, there's an amazing new brand that's coming out. Do you know Jeff Mroz? I'm like, wait, what? It was like convergence of worlds. That like a guy I knew growing up was now doing this amazing thing in wellness. You don't live here anymore. You're in Montana. So kind of I'm giving people a little bit from my perspective, but yeah.
It has been. It's been 25 plus years since I've known the Cole family. Played high school sports with your brother. And to kind of see us kind of intersecting at this moment is wonderful. A big part of it was my admiration for what you've done in the health and wellness world and kind of mirrored my health and wellness journey as well to a degree. Mine was more I was in a football family. My dad played college football. My brothers played college football. I played college football and was fortunate to have an opportunity to play professionally for a few years after. Mm-hmm. And I've always been kind of maybe not the most gifted guy in the world, but preparation was key to like, how am I going to stay playing as long as I possibly can? And a big part of preparation was nutrition. How can I kind of eat, drink, what's going to be optimal for performance? And I think back to kind of my childhood and some kind of very formative experiences that really shaped this for me.
Yeah.
And I'd go to my grandmother's house and she had this pink lemonade that was amazing. And you watch her make it and she's pouring in scoops of Crystal Light and sugar. And every time, I kid you not, I would drink it, I'd get a migraine.
Wow.
It would be white spots and then a headache. I'm like, gosh, here it goes again. And would have it at Thanksgiving as well. And I remember some specific Thanksgiving dinners where lively conversation around the table. And then after dinner, one by one, people kind of going back to their chairs, their couches, and then chin to chest, everyone falling asleep. And I remember asking, like, why is everyone sleeping? And someone said, oh, it's a tryptophan in turkey. And so on game day growing up, I would never have turkey on game day. Like, I can't be tired. So this understanding of what I ate and what I drank was always like very important to me.
Yeah.
And I knew that I wanted to spend kind of my professional life in and around that world.
That's amazing. So, I mean, I have so much to ask you today, so I'm going to think about where to start. But let's start with kind of, you got into I would say the clean, upgraded, nutrient-dense dairy space. And there's a lot of myths and misconception around dairy. So I want to kind of center our conversation around that. And then other things within, let's just say, milk alternatives, the plant milks out there, and kind of set the record straight. But big question, but I want to kind of go into dairy, the history of humans with dairy and how different societies, civilizations interacted with dairy, utilized dairy. It goes far back. And I'm a history nerd. So history nerd, health nerd together. I want to know like the history of dairy and humans.
Yeah. Well, from the Maasai to the Moguls to the Vikings to American pioneers, they kind of all shared this secret, which is their consumption of milk. And it just powered these civilizations that really thrived. Mm-hmm. And every mammal, from goats to sheep to human, produce one type of milk. Cows also used to produce one type of milk until a genetic mutation occurred thousands of years ago. And this genetic mutation occurred because farmers were trying to increase the amount of milk per cow. And as they bred it for industry, there was an economic incentive for them to continue to breed that one specific cow that produced more milk for them. And what they didn't realize is that they changed the protein structure in milk. So today, unlike our other mammals of goats and sheep and humans, we now have 2 cow milks. But a long time ago, we had 1 type of milk. And at Pioneer Pastures, we're basically going back to these ancestral bred cows and getting milk from the A2 cows.
Yeah. So we got a lot of people are going to be shocked by that. I mean, some of the maybe up to date health nerds out there have heard of A2 milk and kind of know, they don't really know what it is. They're going to learn today what it is. So there's these 2 subtypes of dairy out there, and isn't it right? Isn't it there's so many examples of this, of like when mankind pretends to be God, there can be unintended and intended consequences to where there's pitfalls to it. A lot of dairy allergies, it's really because of what you just said happened, correct?
Right. And I think we've been misled and misinformed when it comes to dairy for our entire lives. And it wasn't until recently that studies starting to show that the 70% of the world's population that are told they're lactose intolerant might not actually be lactose intolerant, but rather intolerant to the A1 beta-casein protein that's in the most dominant milk on grocery shelves today.
Yeah. Shocking. So to repeat back in a different way, it's not the milk, it's what we've done to the milk in many ways. That's the problem. So you have beta A1, beta A2 casein. Most of the dairy, is it safe to assume, if it doesn't say A2, it's A1.
Correct.
So that's kind of triggering this, and I think of the research of, you mentioned this ancestral mismatch, what they call an evolutionary mismatch or genetic mismatch, that our microbiome, our gut health, our immune system, human physiology hasn't changed in 10,000 plus years. Right. But yet our world has changed so dramatically in such a finite period of time, a few generations, right? For a lot of things, it's not just dairy, but our microbiome and immune system's living in a brave new world. It's interacting with these things like foods and environmental toxins, other things that can, like, it doesn't recognize it. So it's triggering this inflammatory response to protect us. So it's the OG casein, like the ancestral casein is this A2. So are there different types of cows? Like where does one get A2 today?
The most common cow that has A2 that's kind of bred for industry more or less is the Jersey cow. They tend to be genetically A2 cows. Some Holstein cows have been genetically bred over time to only produce A2 milk as well. But if you have 2 glasses of milk, you have one with the A1 beta-casein protein and you have one with the A2, like what we have, and you drink the one with A1, during digestion, what happens is it releases an opioid peptide called BCM7.
Yes.
It's essentially, think of a protein fragment that interacts with the gut. And a lot of the discomfort doesn't actually come from the lactose. It comes from this opioid peptide that interacts in a way that causes pain and bloating and gas and possibly inflammatory responses in the gut. And you can't help but imagine the gut-brain axis and all the other things that it triggers.
Yeah. So said another way, for people that are like hearing this for the first time, our immune system and the microbiome, all the trillions of bacteria, it is recognizing A2 because it kind of co-habitated, co-evolved. It has a long history with it. That's one way of looking at it. They're old friends. So Jersey cows, are they from Jersey, like the island in like the UK? Where do you know?
I actually don't know.
Yeah, I don't either. Like Jersey, isn't there? I think there's a Channel Island or something, Jersey, or New Jersey, but I don't think it's that.
Jersey cows.
I don't know. I have no idea. We'll have to look into that. So, what other cows? I think that are there certain cows in India, Africa that still have A2 as well?
Brown Swiss cows do.
Good.
There's a number of other ones.
Okay, got it. All right, and so the person, and I'll tell you, my son who's off camera right now, he has a dairy issue, and when he has regular dairy, I don't know if he's close enough to hear me, but are you okay if I share this, Solomon? Yes. I want to have, respect that. But when he has like a milkshake at a random place, or he drinks a glass of milk, he has a flare up, digestive issues. A lot of people can relate to that. Like, I have a dairy problem. He has your A2 milk, he's completely fine. And he can chug it and has no issue. Do you probably hear that a lot?
We hear it a lot. And what's also interesting is that people of African descent and Asian descent, just a lot of them just don't drink milk because they're told, lactose intolerant, don't drink it.
Yeah.
And they're drinking ours without issue. And some studies came out recently that had kind of the same cohort given product, all lactose intolerant people that identify as lactose intolerant, given A2 milk with lactose in it, and then separately given A1 milk that's lactose free. And the consumption of A2 milk with lactose in it triggered no inflammatory responses in the gut. Amazing. However, the A1 milk with no lactose caused issues.
Yeah.
So more and more coming out. It's very new. We're on the early side of adoptance, but all the science is pointing to the protein as the major issue.
Got it. So what got you into this space? Like getting A2 into the world? I mean, you're everywhere now. I mean, you're in Target. If you're in Target, you're everywhere. But you're in a lot of other places too. Like what was the impetus behind Pioneer Pastures?
I think this is the biggest untold story in our entire food system. I think when we start thinking about gut health and how this impacts just digestion, I look back to a few things that happened during COVID. One was we saw the statistic, my wife and I did, that the number one most consumed product in our school system is chocolate milk. Over 1 billion cartons a year of chocolate milk are consumed. It was very, very troubling.
It's not hard to believe. That's a lot of chocolate
25
milk.
grams of sugar, all fat-free, so nothing to stop the insulin spike from even... And we have 3 young kids and we want them to grow up in a different world. That's what started it. And as I started to understand the history of milk, like we discussed earlier, it became very obvious to me that if we could create an A2 milk that had better macros, so higher protein, lower sugar through an ultrafiltration process, that this could fundamentally change the metabolic health of our country. Yeah. It's the most accessible and cheapest form of protein available. And because we don't have the A1 beta-casein protein, a lot of pockets of the population that historically weren't drinking milk can now drink milk again.
Wow. And I mean, let's talk about the war on milk. I mean, there's been a lot of misconceptions, misinformation around milk, and that sort of conflation with, saturated fat is bad and dairy is bad. It's bad for the plant, and all these sort of environmental, health, political reasons to avoid milk. But then you see this sort of shift in our society now. I think there's been, started waking up with like the paleo movement and the keto movement, and now the like sort of real food, Weston A. Price, a lot of people talking about raw dairy and of course A2 dairy. People are having that sort of, I think there's a renaissance of real food and not fearing it. But what's your take on the sort of evolution we're seeing in our lifetime?
Well, I think our culture is obsessed with low calorie restriction, fat avoidance, and it's completely derailed our understanding of real food, real nutrition. And most modern diets and suggestions are based off of 1980s nutrition science. And this is when we were introduced to the food pyramid. Hey, let's get most of our meals from grains and things that don't add much nutritional value. In fact, just the opposite. So if we look back to that and how we are kind of low calorie and low fat and what big food has done to kind of latch on to that reality and run with it, almost all the food we consume in this country to this day is ultra processed, and no regard is given to our gut health. How are these foods actually processed by our gut? How are they being metabolized? How are they impacting our microbiome? How are they impacting our brain? And I think that's starting to change, and people want real food. And with Pioneer Pastures, we're able to give real milk, real food from real cows that used to exist thousands and thousands of years ago. And I can't think of an easier or better way to provide somebody real nutrition or real food than this in a world that needs it very badly.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking of the sort of prescience that you had, the foresight you had, because look, we're living in such a time where more people than ever are looking for this stuff. But when you first had the idea for Pioneer Pastures, like none of this fully came into fruition. So did you see this, like forecasted this movement that's happening as far as real food?
A little bit. And honestly, people like yourself, and I'll kind of dig into that here in a second, but if we look at anyone who's lived through COVID and is old enough to remember living through COVID and the few years following, I really believe they're going to look back and view it as the most transformative health event of their life. Not just because of the sheer devastation that occurred, but also because of the swift response that happened from consumers trying to take health back into their own hands, not be vulnerable metabolically. And then also the reaction from big retailers and big food, and leading movements like you did with kind of getting artificial dyes out of food. And to see the reaction from these huge companies and these huge retailers happening so fast, we thought that there was going to be a pretty fast shift happening. I think a lot of folks with their health got caught flat-footed during COVID, and they wanted answers, and there just weren't answers. It was still more of the same. So we felt like if we had a true answer that could change the health of people, that the reception and the adoptance would be quicker than it would be for most typical brands. Not more of the same, but something radically different. So if they want to make a radical change to improve their health, we had to meet them where they were.
Yeah. Wow. And you're absolutely right. This interesting convergence, like this is just the life that you live, whether people are paying attention or not. Like same with myself. You mentioned we've known each other 25 plus years. This is not new to like my life. Right. If anything, I just think the world's paying attention now to more and more stuff. This is becoming more democratized, becoming more accessible. I was on a call a few months ago with some, chiefs, heads of Walmart, asking about this sort of movement of people, the average Walmart consumers, asking questions, becoming more label literate to wanting to know. I think this is a powerful time for sure. So what's your take of the person that says, dairy's bad for the environment? Can you kind of take that perspective on it? Like, what's your take on it? It's like cow farts are causing problems.
Right. Well, I think if you look at how protein from a cow is delivered to a human and track the entire supply chain versus how maybe a plant-based, and how many animals are killed to get an almond or rake a field for quinoa or whatever it might be, it's actually probably the most sustainable way of farming. And we have a lot of regenerative farms that we work with. And not that they're necessarily all carbon neutral, but they're way closer to carbon neutral than any type of plant-based offering out there.
That's shocking for some people to be hearing this, right? I mean, if you're talking about that, it is the data really shows that is going regenerative whenever you can. It's going to be tremendously better for the environment. Okay, so let's talk about plant milks. You mentioned plant milks. You look at the ingredient label. People don't look at the ingredients oftentimes. They are shockingly higher in sugar and higher in seed oils. I mean, one of their first ingredients oftentimes, it's just seed oils. Yeah. It's like the antithesis of nutrient density. So can you kind of shed light on what's your take on plant milks?
Yeah. So when I was playing football, I don't know that there was someone on planet Earth who drank more protein shakes than I did. And I would, 3-4 of these a day, and I had to keep muscle mass on, all that good stuff. And I felt terrible, but I had to do it, and gassy, bloated, et cetera. And I remember one day looking at the label, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. And that led me to start a kind of a protein brand in the plant-based world called Owen. And we did that because I wanted a clean source of protein.
Yeah.
And my hypothesis was right, that it was the protein causing the discomfort. But what I got wrong was it wasn't the actual protein. It was the fact that it was an A1 protein that was causing the discomfort. Now I can drink 3 or 4 of these a day with no issue at all. And all other protein drinks on the market are basically powders. And like you said, seed oils that add no nutritional value. In fact, just the opposite. And plant in general, it's not a complete protein. And it's like you kind of mentioned, it's not as good for the environment as one would lead to kind of believe. And if we live in a world where you want clicks, you want to see things that are kind of rising to the top in rankings, and is for the last decade or so, it's been very trendy to kind of talk about plant-based and be all plant-based. And I was in that world for a short minute until I realized the actual truth. And over the last 10 years, dairy farmers have gotten crushed. I mean, we saw videos during COVID of farmers pouring dairy down the drain. It was kind of cheaper for them to do that than bottle it and send it to a grocery store. And they've been hit, and a lot of them have just closed up. And when I come into some of these different farms and share my vision, especially the A2 farmers who have been doing this for their entire lives, they're like, thank you. Like, thank you for doing this, because this is how real food and real nutrition should be. It's how it had been thousands and thousands of years ago. It powered the most successful civilizations that ever existed, and kind of what's old is new again.
Yeah. Yeah. And to be clear, like I have patients, telehealth patients that are vegan, vegetarian. Like I'm a pragmatist, and if they're going to be plant-based, I want it to be the most nutrient dense, the most whole foods, like clean, anti-inflammatory, gut-friendly, plant-based diet. I'm not like a ideologue when it comes to that. There's a lot of bio-individuality and religious and ethical and personal preference reasons why someone may want to be exclusively plant-based or mostly plant-based. Totally fine. But I think that the problem is a lot of these things that are marketed really well, they're not clean plant-based. Right. There are clean plant-based brands and brands that are doing plant-based really well. So I want to not shame an entire way of thinking or way of eating. But there's a lot of like greenwashing when it comes to plant-based stuff. It's just because it's not a complete protein, because it's not a whole food. It really involves oftentimes these plant-based carton packaged things, a lot of processing, right? Can you maybe kind of like the plant milk specifically, like what are the top ones? Soy milk,
almond milk.
People love the oat milk, and they don't like when I talk about the oat milk. I mean, it can be oftentimes higher in glyphosate as well, right?
Right. The glyphosate, the seed oils to make it taste like dairy, all the additives, and just highly processed. And kind of getting back to that gut health question, like you said, if you have true access to like plant-based as nature intended, great. But the mass kind of products aren't that in the plant-based world. They're highly processed. And how does our gut kind of react to that? And my suspicion is not in a favorable way. Yeah,
it's oftentimes not. It really isn't. And a lot of people know that when they go and get that oat milk latte, they're having some problems.
Yeah.
And it's because of what you just said. Okay, let's talk about the scalability of A2 as an industry. It's exploding. Where's, like, as far as like the supply demand conversation, are farmers ready to expand the A2? I hope so.
What's interesting is I love talking to the A2 farmers. I love talking to all farmers. And these are some of the hardest working people I've ever encountered. And they're incredibly intelligent. They understand how to run their farms, their businesses. And the A2 ones in particular, in fact, our brand kind of voice is in many respects after a specific A2 farmer that I just love. And the type of guy that when you go and sit down with him, he won't tell you everything that he knows. But if you ask him, such thoughtful responses with all the answers. And his dad was a farmer, and his dad was a farmer. And they all did it with A2 because that's how it used to be. And that's how they felt like was the right way to do it. And these aren't the type of guys that are going to go around shaming A1 or anything else. It's just like, no, this is why we do it. We think this is where it needs to be. So throughout the country, there's some pockets of A2 farms, not nearly as much as A1 farms. Kind of as we looked at why A1 is so much more prevalent, because at the time that this breeding happened, there was an economic incentive because they could get more milk per cow. And if I'm a farmer and I can get 100 pounds a day from one type of cow, but only 80 from maybe an A2 type of cow, well, and I don't know that there's a protein difference, I'm going to do the A1 cow. So the ones that do A2, there's not as many of them. So if we want to continue to scale this thing and be kind of a mass health brand like we're trying to be, we need more and more farms that kind of buy into this and cross and breed their cows accordingly and test their cows and make sure their entire supply chain doesn't have contamination from the A1 milk.
Yeah. And I think, again, we're talking about the people voting with their dollars. I think it's going to be a ripple effect of farmers shifting. How difficult is that? I mean, it's just a matter of farmers switching over, I guess, like the cows that they're raising for dairy?
It's going to take some time. It's a number of years to kind of breed a cow and get it ready for milking. And a lot of them have thousands and thousands of cows that are A1. So you kind of have to live out their life and then kind of slowly transition over to the A2. I think it's very possible that in 20 years, the majority of cows will flip from being A1 to A2.
Yeah, I hope so too. Okay, so going back to the history of this sort of crossbreeding of cows to yield more milk, was that the initial intention? And they weren't planning on shifting and causing this new subtype. I mean, they weren't planning on creating beta A1. That's just an unintended consequence of it, correct?
Right.
So, and then how far back do they know when this started happening?
Thousands of years ago.
Thousands of years ago it happened, and it just become more concentrated because beta-A1 yielded more milk.
Right.
So it was like, could sell more. It was a profit thing.
And they didn't know they changed the protein structure of milk. They
Got
just
it.
knew they had a cow that produced more milk. So I'm going to keep breeding that.
Interesting. So thousands of years ago, this subtype happened, but yeah, it just the focus of, okay, more consumption, right? This is what happened. Well, how far back does beta A, I've seen obviously the past 15, 20 years, like more and more studies come out of the scientific literature talking about beta A2. But like, do we know the year that they actually discovered this sort of, this difference between A2 and A1?
I don't know the year, but I do know in the last 15 years, it's starting to, there's a lot more studies, a lot more funding dedicated to it, and a lot more awareness and people caring about it.
Yeah.
So kind of this idea that how can all these people, 70+% of the world, be intolerant to what powered this entire country and universe for so long.
Yeah.
And I think that the curiosity and the resources over the last 2 decades have really picked up a lot and challenged what had been told to us forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And going back to something you said earlier that I've really heard this time and time again is that the pandemic, COVID, was a massive aha moment in many levels for people to just how they thought about health. It sort of awoke them up. It is that silver lining, right? So it was obviously a very difficult time on many different levels for people for many different reasons, but the silver lining was this sort of catalyst for people awakening with their health and thinking for themselves, right?
For sure. And I think as we look at our society and other tailwinds, it's kind of also given rise to the GLP-1 movement. People, I don't want to be caught off guard anymore. I don't want to kind of be in a spot where I'm metabolically unhealthy. I know what just happened a few years ago to hundreds and thousands of people that died because they weren't healthy almost instantly. Yeah. And whenever you have actual answers and solutions for it, then people can act. If it's just hypothetical, eat healthier or exercise more or sleep better. Okay, like everyone hears that and they've heard it since they were a little kid. But now if you have an actual solution for someone to do that, that's where the real difference is.
Something that you highlighted that is when, the conversation around accessibility and feeding the masses and affordability for people. You mentioned milk, especially we're talking about A2 milk. It is the cheapest, if not the cheapest, one of the cheapest ways to get protein. That's probably, it is the top, right?
It is number one.
Yeah. Which is a significant thing is the modern American diet is deficient in whole protein, complete protein. Like what's the state of affairs, especially when you think of the sort of schools and what they're feeding kids in schools today?
As we look at milk, it's kind of like this gift from nature. It's a complete protein, like you just said. It has healthy fats, it has vitamins, it has minerals, and it's also, milk is more hydrating than water. Like it's this incredible thing that, for thousands and thousands of years has been around. And as we look at what's happened to it, it's been industrialized. And how do we just get a bunch of people milk? And if you look at schools in particular, it's the number one most consumed product in schools. Over 1 billion cartons of milk are consumed in our school system every year. And it's all chocolate milk. And this is 25 grams of sugar, fat-free as mandated. That has to be fat-free to go into schools. It's like, that's the worst of the worst. Not only do you have a ton of sugar, you have no healthy fats. And you're talking about like insulin spikes. And my wife and I just wanted to do something different and really create something that mass health could truly benefit from. And accessibility from a price point. If you get a half gallon of our milk, it's less than $1 for a serving. You can't get cheaper protein that's more nutritious and more real than something like this.
Yeah. Wait, I didn't know. It's not surprising. I knew there were very tight regulations around what foods can be served in school. And it's upside down, right? It's like the one like remnant of good thing you'd get, they say it has to be low fat.
It has to be low fat.
Wow, that's wild. You think of also beyond that, I look at the contracts that schools have with these foods, like these big food companies, where it's just artificial dyes and preservatives and sugar, and nutrient density is just not on the menu.
And pizza counts as a vegetable, and Cheetos count as a whole grain, and they have $1.35 to spend on a kid, and you see why it happens, and it just needs to be completely redone.
It's completely redone. Are you two thoughts? Is like the dairy world what is the conventional dairy world? I think of the You've Got Milk classic campaign. What does that world think of what you're doing?
It's split, I would say. On one hand, there's a lot of excitement of us bringing a lot of people back into the category that haven't been there. So you have farmers and marketing people in the dairy world like, this is great. Now more people are going to be drinking milk. We're going to have, and also like when it gets to schools, taking a step back to the school, kids are allowed to take milks home in some portions of this country that are kind of maybe not as well to do. And that's what they have for the weekend. It's this chocolate milk.
Yeah.
And if we can change that, we're going to change kind of health in a fundamental way. So I do think there's a lot of excitement. I'm seeing a lot of excitement from the milk industry from bringing people back into the category. And on the other hand, you have an old guard of saying, oh, this is just kind of another fad. It's not here to stay. I've been in the milk industry my entire life. My grandfather did it. His grandfather did it. And this is kind of how it's been done. And I kind of love hearing that, because that's in so many ways in health and wellness, like that old, like don't change anything. It's like the Blockbuster video of food. Mm-hmm. And you just know that as science comes out and proves a lot of that wrong, we're going to be on the right side of it. And we're going to be helping and bringing a lot of people back into the category and making them healthier at the same time.
Yeah. You hear the same thing from big food until the old guard thinking, yeah, it's split there too, right? You have innovators, you have a lot of big food that are buying up great startups. And I love that. The innovation, the penetration in the market, you can get into more people's lives with big food, actually seeing this is the future. Yep. But the flip side is this sort of old guard thinking when it comes to, it could be dairy, it could be artificial dyes, it could be anything, is that the sort of fear mongering of change. Prices are going to increase, the aisles are going to be bare. That's what's happening in many different ingredients, in many different instances, right? This sort of the spin that can happen with people that don't want positive change.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important that people like you exist, that you now have a platform. Maybe you didn't have a platform 30 years ago to tell the people what you know.
No one listened to me back then.
And this kind of advancement of people like yourself who understand the truth, who've looked at the science and read through the papers and help kind of educate just the average person who would historically listen to a commercial of, hey, drink this, sugary product because it's good for you, or do this because that's what big food and commercials told you to do, and shaping kind of public opinion. And these movements don't happen overnight. I will say, to do what you guys have done for the artificial dyes and big food and retailers, I mean, that is remarkable speed that happened.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. But it's this weird, we couldn't give people like food activists like Bonnie Hari and like people that have been doing this for a long time. So it has been a long time, but it's this acceleration, I think, with this, series of confluence of factors, right? That's happening right now. And look, and time will tell, right? These companies can say one thing and then not follow through. So we definitely need good legislation and action on all fronts, right? What do you think of that You've Got Milk campaigns? I see this as I want Pioneer Pastures rebrand that campaign. Is that possible? Who's in charge of that? Some sort of dairy lobby group?
Yeah, that was a trade organization that put that together. It was wildly successful. I mean, it's probably the most successful ad campaign.
Every celebrity had a little milk mustache.
Yeah.
Is it still going on, that campaign?
I don't know if it's still going or not, but I it was a who's who of people they got to do it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody.
Yeah.
I think you should bring it back. I think some A2 milk mustaches are needed.
Can we get a mustache on you?
Yes, I'll do it. It'll be great. Nice. Okay, so schools, you got into this because you saw what was being served in schools when it comes to milk, low fat, chocolate milk, tons of sugar, no nutrients. What is the reception you're getting from schools? Have you had any success getting A2 milk in schools?
One, it's very fragmented, which is a little bit unfortunate. And two, you have a lot of these kind of old school distributors that kind of handle what goes into all the schools that have, it's almost like mafia-ish in a regard where here's how we've done it forever, we're not changing it. And so slowly there's been kind of companies like ours trying to chip away at it. And from our perspective, there's something from the supply chain. We talked about kind of the environmental aspect of milk versus plant-based, there's also something to be done about our type of milk. So we can deliver milk to schools. And if you look at a yearly budget, it's actually going to save schools money because it's not going to expire like normal milk. It's not going to have to, be restocked every single week. You don't have to have a guy standing there in the refrigerator bringing it all in. The waste is really bad. It's terrible. And the amount of milk that's thrown away in schools is terrible. So I think we could really change just kind of that part of it as well. And it's really, I want to say the top 20 school districts account for like the majority of schools and kids being fed. So for us, it's like, how do we get a few of the top ones on board and then get the infrastructure and you get the distributors on board with it. So I don't think it's going to be something where I can turn on a Target like that or a Walmart or a Whole Foods or something where I'm instantly everywhere. I can't kind of wave my wand and be in every single school district tomorrow. I think it's going to be an ongoing effort from our company to get our milk into as many schools as we can.
Yeah, I'm into that. Okay, so you mentioned Target. You're in Target now. What was that? I mean, you talk about mainstream America. It's the Target shopper. Many listeners right now, they love a Target. My wife loves a Target. I don't get the Target as much, but I love a Target too. So what was that a goal of yours right out of the gate? I'm assuming it was. And what's that like what's been the reception, I guess, with the A2 milk and the Target shopper?
I'd say two things really prompted it. Number one, I wanted to signal that we're a mass health brand out of the gates. So is there one retailer where we can have mass distribution where there's a customer going that's going to appreciate that? And it was Target. And then on the Target executive side and the buyer side, we got a ton of buy-in. So we have protein shakes as singles, we have protein shakes as 4-packs, and we have milks, whole milk, 2% milk, and chocolate milk, all three different categories brought in. And Target did a phenomenal job. All the buyers who bought our product, the executives, and the entire team really championed this in a huge way. And I think it's a retailer that is understanding the consumers are changing their preferences. And if you walk into a Target now, you're going to see that product assortment like, wow, these guys are really making a big move towards health. And that's the type of retailer we wanted to kind of partner with on the launch of this. The reception's been awesome. I think that more and more people are coming into the category. And if I look at the protein shake specifically, we call out no seed oils on the front. Seed oils is obviously very topical right now, but it's also symbolic of all the other kind of artificial ingredients and things that are just very disruptive and inflammatory. But it shows our intentionality with the design and the product and the formulation of, we don't have artificial sweeteners. We don't have seed oils. We don't have carrageenan. And then on the milk side, most milks have vitamins that contain canola oil as a carrier in it. So a lot of the milks that people consume have seed oils in it. We don't have any of this stuff. Like, this is as pure as it gets. And when you launch a brand into a place like Target, how many people understand A2 and how many don't? We're very early on the adoption curve on understanding, but we keep on looking at sales week over week, repeat data. And once someone buys our brand once, they're sticking with it. There's a lot of loyalty, and that's what we want to see. And I really think that they taste and feel the difference.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If nothing else, even if they're not like a health nut, the symptom, like not having bloating and the digestive issues that you had for the skin issues or the other inflammatory symptoms, I think that alone, once people have it and like, oh, wow, I can have dairy. I thought I like went my entire life thinking I couldn't tolerate dairy. And something I don't want to gloss over is you mentioned certain ethnic populations, because their microbiome really isn't used to American milk, that you're seeing such a great reception with their microbiome and immune system as well.
That's so exciting for us. Some of my former teammates in the NFL, African-American, couldn't drink milk, now drink this. Like, oh my God, this is incredible. I can drink milk again. We also have higher calcium. So the athletes love for their bones and whatnot and joints, there's more calcium. So the reception that we get, not just from the athletes, of course, but just in our inboxes and our DMs of people that haven't been able to drink milk, heard from so-and-so that they should try it, now drink it. Like, this is life-changing for a lot of them. All the way to someone who, hey, I had my blood tested, my hair tested, very high in heavy metals. And the doctor said, hey, have you been consuming protein powders? And yeah, I have been. And hey, why don't you try Pioneer Pastures? It's milk. So we're kind of seeing some early movement in that world too, where is there inflammatory responses to some of the kind of drinks that exist now that are just kind of powders mixed with seed oils and whatnot coming to the pure form. So the reception from consumers, and they can only buy it in one place right now, which is Target, and then Amazon coming up soon. But that's really kind of, it makes you kind of feel very good about what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And for me, seeing these DMs and seeing these emails of how it's changing lives, positive, it's pretty powerful.
It's so cool, man. You said something that I think people's ears were ringing or like shocked when you said it, is that the carrier of these vitamins that are injected in this conventional milk have seed oils. It may not even be on the label, right? It just says vitamin A, vitamin D, whatever, right? The vitamins, because there is so nutrient less conventional milk that they need to synthetically bring vitamins in it that aren't good quality vitamins anyways, but you're not getting that in this circumstance.
Yeah, all the big dairy companies, for the most part, have vitamin suppliers, and the vitamins are the cheapest form of vitamin you can possibly get. And the cheapest carrier is canola oil or some type of seed oil to do it. Mm-hmm. And my wife was very intentional with this. Like, we're not having any seed oils in our vitamins. We're not having seed oil in the product. None of that. So that's been very deliberate from day one.
That's amazing. So going back to the Target consumer, is the average Target customer, do they know about seed oils yet? I'm thinking that it's growing, but like, do you get feedback, I guess, from the Target execs of like the seed oil conversation with the Target customer?
And the protein shakes more so than the milks, absolutely. As I don't think people associate milks with seed oils, although they should, as we just discussed. But in the protein shakes, for sure, we're the only one in the aisle without seed oils, without carrageenan or any of that stuff. And more people are coming in looking for that specific call out. It's actually way bigger.
It's amazing.
In our circles, it's a big deal, but in Target, it's blanketed the country. I think it's here.
That's so cool. Can you imagine where we're going to be in another year? I mean, it's gonna be double, triple. I mean, is there any like estimates of how big this is gonna get as far as people's literacy on these things you're talking about?
What I think is accelerating the literacy of it is being able to comprehend it and hearing it from someone like yourself who's able to say, actually, seed oils, here's why they're bad, instead of just seed oils bad, but they're actually highly caloric. And they're empty calories and they're omega-6s. And here's why omega-6s and our ratios of 6s to 3s is off and why that's inflammatory. And kind of to get that seed oil, there's a hexane for the extraction process. And once you start to understand, like, oh, actually, I never thought about that before. And you can't unhear that. And it's going to inform your decisions going forward. And once a trusted kind of health advisor or doctor or someone relays that story to you, then when you go back to the store, it's like, now you're looking. And they're going to tell a friend. And it's just kind of this, health is in vogue right now.
Yeah.
It never has been more so. We track ourselves, we track our sleep, information's at our fingertips. So human advancement and health advancement is accelerating like crazy. And these types of watch outs of things like seed oils and carrageenan and whatnot are very important, and not just for the shopper who has the means, but rather shopper who has kind of just a general desire to be healthy.
Yeah. You mentioned protein powders and plant-based protein powders specifically, and the news that comes up every few months, it seems, the sort of heavy metal issues because it's the soil, right? It's the soil in which these plants are grown oftentimes. That's not the case with dairy, correct? I mean, it's less likely, and obviously brands that are vetting and testing the purity of it. Can you kind of talk about the difference of that? Why there's so much conversation around heavy metals oftentimes with plant-based foods out there?
Well, I think it's exactly for what you mentioned. These things are grown and sprayed on the ground with plant-based, and when they're kind of harvested and then dehydrated and hexane and all these other things and
concentrated
to get them out, it just becomes amplified.
Yeah. This is like across the board, the better way to go for people. So you have the dairy, you have the A2 dairy, you mentioned whole milk for 2%. What's more popular right now between the two? Is it the whole milk?
The whole milk.
Yeah, I'm happy about that. And then I love the protein shakes, the milkshakes. Can you talk about them? Like what they are for people that aren't watching this on video?
Yeah. So it's a 30-gram protein shake. So what we do is we get raw milk and we separate the cream and then kind of ultra filter it. And think of milk going through a cheesecloth, essentially, where we're able to concentrate the protein and then kind of put it into the package. So it's a very high level of protein and no added protein powders, no synthetics. And it's just an easy way for people to get a lot of protein. And I had a couple of friends in from New York City last week into the office in Montana, and their doctors told them both they're lactose intolerant. I'm like, just try it, see what you think. They're like, okay, here we go. Both of them had it, and this is amazing. Like, they were completely convinced that this is going to upset their stomach, and such a high percentage of protein in this bottle. They got 30 grams, not a single issue, and now they drink it every single day. So in terms of purity, it's the most kind of like we like to call it like the Rolls Royce of protein shakes. It's not altered. It's just straight milk in a bottle with a little cream and some kind of natural flavors and sweeteners and nothing artificial.
Yeah. So there's a vanilla and the chocolate. Any other flavors in the works?
We have a few. We have three in the works that we'll come out with.
Can you share? We can keep this private if you want, but
well, I think that we have some plays off of chocolate and then some fruity flavors that we'll come out with.
Amazing.
We're getting a lot of DMs saying, "Hey, can you make a blueberry? Can you make a strawberry? Can you make a chocolate, whatever?" So we're kind of in the process of doing that.
People love the strawberry milk. I forget who it was that I was talking to. They're like, I love strawberry milk. That never was my jam. Strawberry.
Yeah.
What about you?
Same, but there's a lot of people that love strawberry.
That love it. Yeah. Okay, so are there any other A2 milk products out there? Because I think you guys need to do an ice cream eventually. Is that have you guys talked about that?
We have.
Okay.
We've made ice cream with it. We've made yogurt with it. We've made cottage cheese with it. So there's a lot of things that we can certainly do with it. My objective here is milk is the first thing that someone has when they come into this world.
Yeah.
Let's nail milk. Protein shakes are, the sales in protein shakes in general are just skyrocketing. I saw some recent data around the top selling protein shakes. We're talking billions and billions of dollars in the US of protein shakes, and so many people are drinking what I consider to be not very good protein. And if we can kind of be introduced to more and more people and have them incorporate our brand into their lives, then I think that gives us permission to then earn their trust and get into adjacent categories.
Yeah. Solomon, my son, a guy who I mentioned earlier, you love these, right? So, and can you want to come over on the mic real fast? Kind of tell your experience with this. Come to the mic.
And I chug. I'll drink like a freaking, I don't know how big they are, but those of A2 milk, and I'm fine. But then I'll have 2 scoops of regular ice cream and I'm not messed up. And especially for me, I try and gain muscle mass, and this is super helpful for me. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. And all my friends, they drink fridge full at college, fridge full of protein. And I look at what it is and I'm like, the ingredients in this are terrible. I can't even read some of I don't even know what this is. Yeah. So this is super great, and I try and get all my friends to drink this stuff. Yeah,
appreciate our first college ambassador.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Okay, before you go, Jeff, the podcast is called The Art of Being Well. At the end, we have Your Art of Being Well. What is the most disgusting, worst tasting, healthy food that you eat? You don't do it for taste, you do it for the health benefits.
Kimchi.
Easy answer. Do you have a brand of choice that you?
I don't.
Yeah.
Do you?
I do. I have to look it up because I've been eating, because you've known me for a long time. I've been having kimchi for probably 30 years since I was a little kid. I was a strange kid, man. But that's what I had at my house. Kimchi.
It's terrible.
It's potent.
Grin and bear it.
Yeah, for sure. I hear kimchi stories from patients a lot. They tell me that traditionally that they would just put it in the ground. I don't know if you know that. Traditionally in Korea, they would just put the vegetables in the ground and ferment it. I mean, it's wild. I don't think it's made like that. Hopefully not anymore in the States than some dirty kimchi. But all right, next question. Do you take supplements? And if so, what are the 2 maybe lesser known supplements that people should know about?
The only supplement I take is creatine. I don't know that it's necessarily lesser known. I think it's, a funny story about creatine is, as an athlete, it was something I would take all the time in high school and college. And my mom would always be, "What are you doing? You're killing yourself. What are you doing to your body?" And I think it was a pretty studied ingredient, so I was pretty confident in it. And then kind of fast forward to about a year ago, my mom came out to visit in Montana. And she said, I think I'm going to start taking creatine. My doctor told me I should start taking creatine. I was like, oh, we've come full circle on this.
Well, Mom. Well. That's funny. Yeah. But that was the thing. When we were growing up, it was like, you're going to kill your kidneys. So it was like the thing you could not do it. Kids should definitely not.
Heck no.
Yeah, it is very safe and effective when done appropriately, right? For most people. One of the most well-researched, compounds there is, right? In the research. Any specific creatine you like or... Like
Create.
Okay, great.
Super. I'm always on the road.
Yeah.
I don't like to travel with white substance in my bag. So having the gummies is pretty convenient for me.
Amazing. Is it 5 grams? How much do you take?
Yeah, 5. Although we're seeing more and more, take more.
Yeah. For neuroprotective benefits, some higher, but higher doses for that. All right. What is some place that you've traveled that should be on other people's bucket lists?
Come to Montana. I mean, I know that kind of traveling Europe in the summer and skiing in Japan, all those things are great. But when I moved to Montana from New York, something happened. I was kind of in New York City for about 10 or so years, a magical place. I miss it. I love it. Mm-hmm. But when I went to Montana, just kind of the vastness, and it just opened my mind. There's multiple ways to do things in this world.
Yeah.
And I think just kind of seeing that and being in nature, walking around trails and sitting in rivers and just being connected to nature in a way that I would never have done had I not moved to Montana was really liberating for me. And
Amazing.
I think it was super helpful. I'm thinking through Pioneer, and I don't know that I would have started Pioneer had I not been in that setting.
Yeah, Montana kind of inspired it in many ways. Okay, so Montana's a big state. For someone that hasn't been in there, I've never been, shamefully. My wife really wants to live in Montana and live in a yurt off the grid, if we're being honest right now. But where do I fly into? I want to take my wife on her birthday. Okay, where do I fly into, and how far do I have to drive when I get there?
I would say to fly into Bozeman. We live in Bozeman.
Okay.
And there's there's hot springs. You can just kind of hop into natural hot springs, which is truly magical. Drive through the park and see these incredible animals, these bison, these bears, wolves. Like it's truly a magical place.
Amazing. So, and you mentioned, what's the other, Big Sky?
Big Sky.
Yeah. So how
it's
far?
About 45 minutes away from.
Oh, that's not far.
No, not far.
So flying to Bozeman, that's not bad at all. Before we started recording, you talked about living there can be, because it is a big state, you're driving quite a bit for like kids sports and things like that. What's life in Montana like as like a parent?
Yeah. Well, if your kids are involved in sports, there's kind of the 3-hour drive to a sporting event.
Yeah.
And kind of different mountain towns. So maybe 3 or 4 hour drive to Jackson Hole, 5-hour drive to Sun Valley. Maybe you're going up to Missoula. So you're in the car quite a bit as a sport parent.
Yeah. Yeah. What is something as most like out of the box, maybe some could say controversial, maybe not, just maybe the weirdest thing you've done for your wellness that you're willing to admit on a podcast?
I don't know how weird it is now, but nicotine. I've kind of incorporated that low dose nicotine and kind of heard some statistics and studies that smokers have kind of lower incidence of Alzheimer's and some dementia and things like that. And the theory around it in the study suggests that nicotine is a great neuroprotector. Not overdoing it, maybe a few times a week type of thing. If I really need to dial in for a few hours, or it's 5 p.m., I haven't worked out yet, and I need just to get in the zone and just crank out a workout. I think it's been a great tool for kind of my productivity.
Any brand that you like or you take personally?
Athletic nicotine. It's a slow release, kind of a non-bleached pouch, very natural, low dose, and just kind of a steady kind of flow state for, call it an hour.
Got it. What is a book you've read? It could be fiction or nonfiction, but I'm getting this like running Art of Being Well book club. What should I add to the list?
I think the only books I've read in the last 6 years are kids' books. I wish I had a good answer for you, but I'm reading 3 books a night, Winnie the Pooh to, we've kind of gotten into biographies of individuals that our kids love. So we're kind of reading these, 30-page biographies.
I love that. Yes.
Historical figures.
What athletes. Are they loving? What biographies right now? Kids' biographies.
Well, my daughter started telling my mom, her grandma, about Amelia Earhart the other day, and started kind of rehearsing everything that was told her about Amelia Earhart. I'm like, wow, like she now knows more about Amelia Earhart. than I do.
That's so cool.
It can be kind of people like that. It can be Frida Kahlo. They love her.
Yeah.
Sports people. We just read one about Megan Rapinoe recently, and it kind of spans, but they eat this stuff up. It's fun. I mean, I'm learning about these people that I've heard about, and I was like, oh, I actually didn't know that.
I love that. Yeah, I used to read my son a lot. It's such fun. It's like soak it in. I'm like a dad of old kids talking to you, but it is so true, because that time where they want to read with you goes by so quickly.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I had one more book. Okay, one more book, and then here I am like an hour later. So unfortunately, I don't have time to
just fall asleep. You end up falling asleep reading into them. Yeah, it's so much fun. Do you listen to podcasts? Do you have a podcast that you like?
Yours.
Of course. Thanks, man. I didn't.
I honestly, when I try, I'm in the plane a lot, and that's kind of the first one I'll listen to.
Thanks,
and
buddy.
Really enjoy the kind of cutting edge nature. Chris Williamson, who's a part of our brand as well with Modern Wisdom. I'd say those are kind of like the two go-to. Kelly LeVeque's podcast.
She's
those
great.
Are kind of like the main people that are on.
Do you know Kelly?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Amazing. Small world. Great people. My friend, where do people go? Where do people go to get Pioneer Pastures?
PioneerPastures.com. In Target. We're nationwide in Target. And pretty soon we'll be on Amazon.
Amazing. Fun stuff, Jeff. Come back anytime.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Will.